Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today I'll talk about 15 things I wish I knew earlier in last Epoch. Basically stuff that can help you, especially on your first playthrough. Now, I'm not even going to waste your time. I'm completely going to jump into it. See this Phoenix right here, the Armored Phoenix. Do not screw around with this guy. Now, if you want to fight him, you can. You can kite around. This is level 1, by the way. He will completely one-shot if you don't know how much damage he deals. Maybe this is not going to be the same on release, sure. But if you're not ready for him, he'll eat you alive. Then number 2, and you would not believe how many people actually get stuck here. So you have your quest giver. After you finish the first act boss, I think it's the first act boss. And after that, you have this question mark, which is kind of weird, right? It kind of points down here. A lot of people do not read, walk upstairs and speak with Elder Gaspar. I've had people actually tell me they do not know how to progress, and it has also happened to me when I played for the first time. The way I play these games is just very much, I read chat, I have music on, so I don't really pay that much attention. But yeah, you have to walk here on the side, up there, and at the end, you will see the quest giver Gaspar up top. Right here. Number 3, you can actually craft and TP from everywhere. You do not have to go to these crafting benches right here. You can open it off. For me, it's F for Forge, and then you can just craft. You can do this even while you're mapping. You wait for a boss, you can quickly do a craft. Even more important, especially during campaign, you do not have to go to waypoints to actually TP. You press M, like map, and then you can go wherever you want. Also important to know, I guess, is if you right-click on a zone, you can quick travel there. If you left click it, it asks you and then you have to press travel. But if you right click it, it immediately TPs you. Number 4, craft early and craft often. There's no reason for you to keep any of these shards for later, because even if you put them on the item, you can still shatter them later and get your shards back. There's just no reason to. Make yourself stronger. Don't get into the habit of like collecting or hoarding something for later. With, I guess, the only exception being Glyphs of Despairs. On this character, I have quite a bit because it's from a late patch, but the drop rate of these have been reduced quite significantly, and you need them for endgame. Everything else, even shards, whatever is in here, is fair game. But now you might ask, where do you get those shards from, right? Okay, cool, but I don't have the shards that I want. Well, you have to shatter them, right? If you don't know, every vendor has Rune of Shatterings, and with that I mean every. It's not like an instance thing where if you buy from one, all of them are go. No, you can literally go through the map and go to every single city and buy up the Rune of Shatterings from every vendor. You can get like up to 50 to 100 if you do that. Now, when it comes to what mods to shatter for, number 6, I'm gonna tell you, percentage health and hybrid health are some of the most important stats in endgame. Make sure that you have suffixes on your items open. This affects gloves, boots, body armor, helmet, and belt. Most of your passive tree will really only give you +2 health, and then it will also give you stuff like vitality, which is also +2 health, but you want to multiply that with percentages, and that's what you mostly want to get on your gear. So sure, while getting +2 health on gear is nice, percentage is usually GG. So yeah, adjust your filters and make sure that you highlight those mods. You will need them quite a bit. Now, one of the things with Rune of Shatterings, though, is that you cannot exactly pinpoint which shards you get. On magic items, it's pretty easy, but the more mods are on there, the less chance that you get actually the mod that you want. Well, next tip, number 7, you don't always have to Rune of Shatter your item. You can also Rune of Removal first. Now, this does take crafting potential, so you can't do it infinitely. But basically what this will do is, if the Rune of Removal hits your health, it will not give you a random number of health shards. It will give you the highest possible number. Same for all the other ones. So what you can try, as long as you have forging potential, remove an affix, boom. So now we hit the critical strike throw, but we still didn't lose any forging potential. We can just keep going. All right, keep going. And now we hit the health and we get the full amount. So this is especially important if you don't have any Rune of Shatterings. You should still have them because they only cost like 2,000 gold. But if you have these Rune of Removals lying around anyways and you're not going to use them too often, then definitely target those mods that you want. This is especially nice if you have a high roll of a certain affix that you want. Now, another important thing to note is that you can actually gamble for uniques right here if you find these Rune of Ascendances right now. I already used up all of mine. But what these do is they basically turn a rare or exalted item into a unique of the same base type. So that doesn't mean that you're going to get exactly a augury helm. It just means that you're going to get any helm. A great thing to go for early are actually boots, because almost all unique boots, or maybe even all of them, have movement speed on them. So if you don't have a rare yet with movement speed and you find one early, that can help you out quite a bit. However, one thing I do want to note is that this might change a little bit with Circle of Fortune, because if you go Circle of Fortune, which is sort of the self-found group where you don't go for trade, do remember that even as early as rank 2 right here, you get a 45% chance for Rune of Ascendances to be preserved, so you can use them again. So it might be in your interest to actually save them up until you get there, which is usually going to be around about level 50, but that is up to you. If you have like absolutely no movement speed on boots, still go for it. So there are item mods that are a little bit rarer, that are usually the ones that focus a certain skill, or I don't know, totems or fire skills, ignite duration, very particular, extremely strong offensive mods. They usually come on helmet, body armor, and also your relic. And this includes all of the stats that give you +2 level. So if you want to target those, definitely look out for them. And if you have a node that gives you exalted items, prioritize those slots, because if you get those exalted, they are going to be worth a lot on trade or going to be extremely strong on self-found. Then we have it. You actually don't have to do all the monos. Granted that you only do the right side ones. This is because all you need to do in order to complete normal monos and get into empowered is to kill the last 3 bosses. All of these are level 90 normal, as you can see right here, level 90, level 100. And once you have that, you unlock the level 100. So you do the 90s, that's good. You don't have to do all of these regions. The left side ones, the blessings that you get, are only like a little bit of drop rate. So for example, prefix shard drop rate, 200 axe. It's very goofy, right? These are not that great. Obviously, in end game, you can farm them, but you want to farm the empowered versions. So what you want to do is actually go to the right side and only do the right side ones, so you can travel up top to those level 90s as soon as possible. And the right side ones all give actual buffs to your character, so you get extra character power, which will make it easier to actually jump directly into level 90s. And it is not worth repeating these. Even if you get a shitty blessing, just move on. Take whatever you can get, whatever character power you can get, because these blessings get a lot better if you do them in high monos. So for example, this is actually the upgraded blessing, which goes up to 60. The lower one, I think, only goes to 30 or 40 or something. These go higher, so you want to do them in level 100s. Before that, just use them as a stepping stone. On that note, number 11, once you actually finished these 3 level 90s and you want to progress to empowered, first up, you don't have to be scared. You can still do the lower ones if you really wish to. It's not like all of them are all of a sudden super hard. You have to choose to go into it. You have to opt into it. But if you don't know where to go, because it doesn't happen automatically, you have to go into the middle again and then click on that thing. The reason I say that is usually there should be a quest log, but there have been a lot of instances. It has happened to me as well. It's kind of a bug, I think. You have to go back there, just so you know. If you have the quest log, it's all good. Even if you don't have the quest log, once you have these 3 bosses completed, go into the middle, click on it, move on. Then we have number 12, which is resistances are different in Last Epoch than in Path of Exile. The way it works is in Path of Exile, if you have 0 resistance, you take 100 damage of fire. Let's say you have 0 fire resistance. You take 100 damage. But if you have 75% cap resistances, you actually only take 25. So you're only taking 25% of the damage, which is crazy. It is crazy to not be capped. However, that is not how it works in Last Epoch, because in Last Epoch, enemies penetrate by quite a bit, and that throws off the formula enough for you to not... It means you don't have to be capped all the time. Depending on which monolith you're doing, you're going to face different damage types, so you kind of have to prioritize at different times. One thing I will say is that, for example, Lagon, which is a big cap for a lot of people, you want to have your cold and lightning resistance figured out until then. And one thing as well, physical, you actually always want to have capped because it's the most common damage type. But besides being capped, you want to mostly focus on health. That is what you're looking for, because that affects all damage types. Obviously, you don't want to be on 0 or on 30 on some of these resistances, but if you're on like 62 or something, it's not the end of the world. Number 13, the implicits on your items matter a lot, especially when you're from Path of Exile. You have to realize this, otherwise you're going to get stomped. This is especially important on weapons, because the way skills in Last Epoch work is they don't scale per level. Like their base damage doesn't just scale per level. You have to have added spell damage and added melee physical throwing damage, whatever your skill does. You need to have that figured out. And for example, the difference between an early game scepter with like 17 spell damage and an end game scepter with like 65 or something is monumental. We're talking double, triple, times 4. So even though maybe your early wand looked kind of cool with the mods that it had and it kind of synergized, if it has +3 spell damage, you're leaving all the damage on board, and it could be completely beaten out by just a white scepter in endgame. And the same is true, by the way, for stuff like body armor. Early body armors have very little armor, and they go up to quite incredible numbers, and these numbers do really matter. Or they have other effects like even cast speed, mana, right? But these armor numbers, just going from 15 to 180, can already mean you take like 8% less damage. Talking about defense, this leads me to number 14, which is cap your crit avoidance, or have reduced damage taken from crit. In endgame, when you're doing these monos, you are always getting a certain mod as a downside. So for example, here it's enemies have a chance to chill and whatnot. Some of these are enemies get extra crit. Now you could just avoid them, but if they are on tiles that have specific rewards that you want, that's a problem. So if you go here in your character menu on C and then you go into defense, you can see right here, my critical strike avoidance is 101%, so I'm capped. That's all you need. The way you get this is from boots, gloves, belts, rings, helmet, right? All of these can roll a ton of crit avoidance. As well as that, you can also farm it on a blessing, which is in the Reign of Dragons, which is the level 85 node, or the empowered one gives you up to 70%. So that plus a single roll on an item already gets it done. Now, another way to get there is actually stacking this mod right here, armor and reduced bonus damage from crits. It is a hybrid mod, especially strong if the armor is also really important for your build, and you already have, for example, percentage armor to scale this with. You can get this on any armor piece or on shield. And then number 15, in case you guys are wondering why the Glyph of Despair is so sought after and why this thing is so goddamn strong, it is because you can make 5-stat items. Now, this one is not the best example because I ran out of forging potential, but as you can see right here, there is a sealed mod, and then I could have added another one if I didn't get unlucky. Now, just so you know, on Glyphs of Despair, the lower tier the sealed affix is, the more chance that it actually works, because it's not 100%. And it's pretty rough, because if it doesn't hit, you upgrade the mod, and then you have to try again, and you have even less chance. And meanwhile, you're burning through these that are, like, they're pretty damn rare and hard to get. So what you want to do is usually seal tier 1 affixes, unless you want to make GG items, sure. But usually you want to seal tier 1 affixes, and there's some affixes that are actually quite good on tier 1 and don't really go up in value all that much. Two examples that come to mind here for me, for example, is for throwing attack build. The throwing damage, throwing attack mana cost that I have imprinted here, the minus throwing cost does actually not go up until tier 6. So you would have to get an exalted item to actually get to -4 cost. Only the throwing damage goes up, so this is something that people really like to seal. As well as that, there is a mod on belts that people love to seal. It is the ward and ailment cleansing on potion use, because the ward goes up, but that is not why people are using it. The people are using it to cleanse ailments on potion use, and that is always 100%. But yeah, these are some of the things that I think people should know when starting into the game. If you guys have more time, you can also watch my full beginner's guide. I'll link it down in the description. And if you guys just want to hang out or ask more specific stuff, I'll also be streaming over on twitch.tv/Palsteron, basically every day on release. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, maybe learned a thing or two, and since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.